Talking Heisman hopefuls here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like the video, share it out on social media, and I want your list of Heisman candidates below for 2020. And, of course, subscribe right here at the voice of college football. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. All right. When I think Heisman Trophy candidates, I think three main components go into any successful Heisman run. Number one are just stats. Eye-popping, off-the-paper stats. Great stats. Number two would be that play or series of plays that people remember in the college football season, whether that's just a ridiculously athletic play, a la Charles Woodson against Michigan State with a one-handed interception in 1997, or that's a play that wins a key game, a touchdown pass, a touchdown reception that beats the big rival at the end of the year, or wins that key game that everybody remembers that vaulted that particular player. So it's the stats, it's a play or two, and then number three, it's winning. Especially at the quarterback position, it's about winning. Does your team win? Are you playing for a championship? All right, let's run down the candidates. Then I'll give you my front runner. Keeping in mind Justin Fields, Tanner Morgan, Keaton Slovis, and others out of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten have yet to step on the field. Kyle Trask, Florida quarterback, of course, took a hit this weekend in terms of the winning component with an upset loss at Texas A&M 41-38. But Trask, another fine performance out of him, 312 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Aggies. He's completing 72% of his passes. He is near the top figure in the nation with 14 touchdowns and just 1 pick. So Kyle Trask still in the running. Sure, the winning component takes a hit against Texas A&M. He's got another big one coming up against LSU and against that LSU defense that is like a sieve right now. Staying at Florida, Kyle Pitts, the Kyle to Kyle connection, K2K. Kyle Pitts is known as the best tight end in the nation. Whether he is or not, Miami fans and others may argue that. But he's got the reputation to start out the campaign. He's also caught 7 touchdowns in just 3 games. He had 5 receptions against Texas A&M with another touchdown in that effort. All right, let's go to Ole Miss and Matt Corral. Of course, the Rebels will not be competing for an SEC championship. They've already lost 2 games, but they're catching people's eyes, and Matt Corral is the key component in Lane Kiffin's offense. He tore up the Tide for 365 yards and a couple touchdown passes on 21 of 28 in putting up 48 points against an Alabama defense. So in 3 games, Matt Corral of Ole Miss has thrown for 395, 320, and 365. 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, completing over 75% of his passes. Again, Lane Kiffin, Matt Corral, who can also run the ball and threaten the defense on the ground, even though he has no rushing touchdowns right now. He will probably rush for about 300 to 400 yards this season. Matt Corral, Ole Miss, sleeper pick right there. Another one out of the ACC, Phil Jurkovich, the Notre Dame transfer to Boston College. What an effort he had in a 31-30 overtime win against Pitt. One of the best defenses in the country coming in. Keep that in mind. 358 yards passing against the Panthers. 3 touchdowns, no picks. If you see this guy play, he can throw from all arm angles. He's mobile. He's a gamer. And again, considering this is his first season, first time on the field at a new school with no spring practice, and he's playing like this. 300-plus yards in 3 of 4 games already, 8 touchdowns against 2 picks, an excellent ratio there, and he came within a 2-point conversion of possibly pulling off an upset against North Carolina 2 weeks ago. Phil Jurkovich, quarterback at BC. Let's go back to the SEC and the wide receiver core there with Jalen Waddle, 6 catches for 120 yards against Ole Miss. Waddle has now produced games of 134, 142, and 120 yards receiving in 3 games for the Tide. He has 19 catches for 3 touchdowns. And, of course, the guy that gets him the ball, Mac Jones, Alabama. He hit his first 13 passing attempts against Ole Miss. Hit on 28 of 32. The ball only hit the field 4 times. 417 yards against the Rebs and putting up 63 points, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Mac Jones Mac Jones has now totaled 8 touchdowns through the air with 1 interception. He's hitting almost 80% of his throws. And the Alabama offense, after taking a break in week 1 after putting up 35 points early, Jones hit the sideline. They took a break the last 2 weeks against Texas A&M and Ole Miss, 52 and 63 points. Mac Jones, with that receiving core, will continue to put up points and statistics at Alabama. Then I've got a wild card pick coming out of the Big 12 in Breece Hall, the running back at Iowa State. 27 carries for 135 yards with a touchdown. And Breece Hall has run for 103, 154, 139, and 135, and 8 touchdowns on the season. We didn't see Sam Howell on this list. He's had a rough go with 3 interceptions early, but came on big against BC with 3 touchdowns, no picks, and 56 points. Then against Virginia Tech this past weekend. Also, you got Najee Harris, who's been quiet through the Tide's first couple games, but then poured it on big against Ole Miss. So we may hear from Najee Harris soon. 206 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Rebels. Again, Justin Fields, Tanner Morgan, and Keaton Slovis, 3 guys to keep a lookout on coming up in 2 weeks. Trevor Lawrence, there's your number 1 guy. He's the front runner right now. 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks against Miami. The guy's the best quarterback in the nation, playing for what could be the best team in the nation, coming off what is arguably the best win in the country thus far against Miami in dominant fashion, 42-17. Trevor Lawrence has thrown 10 touchdowns with no picks. He's at 70+% completion percentage. Now he's on a streak of throwing 32 touchdowns and no picks going back to mid-season 2019. He's got a 33-1 record. 4 rushing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, he can prove, as he did against Ohio State in the college football playoff, and now he's showing it against Miami and other teams. He can run the ball too. Trevor Lawrence right now is the Heisman frontrunner by far, with Trask losing last week at Texas A&M. Let's get your list on Heisman candidates for 2020. Who's going to come out of nowhere and possibly win this thing? Or is it a Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence as expected race? Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.